Hi, everyone. The future of media. Start that over again. The future of media is of concern to many people, but I cannot think of anyone better to talk about the future of media than Craig Newmark, the gentleman who is before you. Craig Newmark is the owner and founder of Craigslist, which has expanded to over 500 sites used around the world. Craig, thank you for your time and thank you for welcoming me into your great home.
Hey, I appreciate it. To be clear, I founded Craigslist. I am not the owner, but the deal is I've been with it going on 15 years now. Now my job there is customer service. I'm one of a team of customer service reps. Jim Buckmaster is the CEO.
Right.
He runs things.
Right. Congratulations on your success.
Thanks.
Craig, to cut to the chase, why are so many people concerned about the future of media now as opposed to, say, 20 years ago?
Well, one is that a lot of people do realize that a trustworthy, reliable press that asks lots of questions, that's vital to the survival of our country. However, there's more and more problems coming up. Now, I'm no media expert, not really. I really am not a journalist, not an expert in the newspaper industry. I talk to people who are, and I have observations from the bottom. Since these days my whole attitude towards everything is informed by my work as a customer service rep. So I'm looking up from the bottom.
What do you see?
Well, I do see more and more people understand the need for trustworthy news, but from what I hear and from what I observe, less and less fact-checking is being regarded as an unnecessary expense, and in a lot of publications it's now become acceptable to make things up.
Right. Like, for example, a number of different campaigns, the Obama issue, the Obama is Muslim issue, for example, that sort of thing?
There is that kind of thing. And there are even a TV network or two which sees fit to propagate that disinformation.
I thought the blogosphere was supposed to take care of that. That's not happening?
The idea parts of the blogosphere do fact-checking, take care of this, but the thing is that there's other blogs which deliberately spread misinformation.
Right.
And unless the bulk of media starts fixing things, there'll be less and less trust.
So then the future of media really is a future that really is rather grim, because you have, and stop me if you disagree, more access than ever before by anyone. Not a lot of budget to fact check in some cases, or some people don't want to. They want to put things out there, and there's no check. And then I think it would seem more sinisterly too, a lot of anonymous commenters and people who are, like the skank blogger issue, for example. Is that the future?
I actually have a lot of hope for things, because people are figuring out how to do better reporting, how to work in networks of trust, to do fact-checking. News curation, that is, news selection, is being done more by networks of people you trust. That's why, on the one hand, I read the Times pretty much every day, because they're making a good faith effort, but also more and more news comes to me via people I know on Twitter, people who are trustworthy and pass on links to trustworthy news.
Well, that's interesting. I want to pick up on that, because there's an effort to put 5 journalists in a sort of a lock in a room, if you will, and allow them to only get their news via Twitter and Facebook. What do you think about that effort?
It's a worthwhile experiment. It's a good one. The problem is that they may draw a conclusion from what happens now and try to apply that conclusion on a more permanent basis. That is, that everything right now is a work in progress.
Right.
Things which don't work so well now may have enormous promise and work really well in the future. We do know things are broken now.
Yes. Why is it that, I'll just offer my view, it seems that journalists and editors who worked for established media don't seem to want to get new media and are consistently derisive of it, from Rupert Murdoch on down?
It's a mix of people. I wouldn't generalize quite that broadly.
Sure.
There are traditional media folks who really do get it, and they're trying to figure out what next to do. The big challenge is paying for it. Good journalism costs money. There's a lot of jobs involved, and the deal there is that they're working on new business models for journalism. The folks at City University of New York, led by Jeff Jarvis,
yeah, right.
they're doing some really good work. There's some philanthropy-based journalism going on. There's been some announcements regarding that in the Bay Area over the last day or so. And there's, back in New York, ProPublica has been doing some good work for a couple of years now.
What's happened over the last day or so? Because I know about the Knight Foundation, but what's new?
There's been some announcements regarding staff, regarding, I think it's the Hellman funded effort, which is also tying strongly into the New York Times and how they report on Bay Area news.
How is it that, and I want to pick up on that for a second, because even, I think someone found a typo in the New York Times that sort of laid there, and then the the Washington Post had errors as well. So it seems that the errors are propagating regardless of where you go. I mean, my impression sometimes is that there's a love for the common organs and a desire to save them with the idea that they don't make a mistake. And,
I really don't know what you mean there.
Okay.
But the deal is that a lot of people are working on it. The problem is that people feel that the way you sell papers is by focusing on drama and controversy and forgetting to mention when there are things happening that are really important, but if they're not dramatic, they're not reported. For example, the Obama administration over the past year has gotten a lot of great stuff done,
right,
particularly in government accountability and transparency. They've done so while constantly under fire, where often people make stuff up, and yet the traditional media is not reporting on that. Often they're focusing on manufactured issues.
Right. The problem, as a person who unfortunately gets paid by traffic, I'm a practitioner of it. I'll say it right here, is that if I put something up, and I'm not one to make something up, but I am one to use a celebrity story or a political story because it gains more traffic. And what am I supposed to do about human nature?
Okay. Writing stories like that for whatever purpose is fine, as long as you're reporting, that news as well as much bigger news, much more important news. Also, I'm happy with people even putting up information fast without the time to fact check it, if after the fact it will be fact checked one way or the other, and it's put up there in good faith.
Right.
The idea is that even if you want to get something up fast, you can always do a 30-second Google search on it to see if it has any chance of being accurate, and people do need to do that.
Right.
So I'm pretty sympathetic with all the above. Again, people need to be paid.
Right, and I agree. I think one thing I've noticed is that people don't update their blogs, like the Jimmy Kimmel issue. A while back, Jimmy Kimmel was said to have dated one of his associates and also made a joke about David Letterman. He said he never did, but Associated Press put out that he did, and it took them a full month and a half to correct it. Whereas I think it took me, 4 hours? Something like that. And so I wound up correcting it for everything that had been done before. It's fascinating.
That's it. Sometimes damage can be repaired if done really quickly, like in an hour.
Right.
But apparently that's the exception these days. It is that people are trying to do well, but people realize jobs are at stake, and sometimes people panic.
Overall, what do we do? Because, as I said to someone a while back, there's not enough money there's so much media around, but there's not enough money per media to have anything that's robust, because you've got mobile, web, then we have blogs, videos, and common websites. It's just so much stuff, and then television.
Well, let's start. We can act in good faith. For example, when you're going to put a story up, at least do a let's call it a sanity check. 30 seconds on Google will help. Let's make sure no one around is making something up.
Right.
And usually anyone's smell test can figure that out. And for that matter, if you want to present two sides of a story, that's cool, but don't bring on someone you know who is going to intentionally deceive people.
Absolutely. Yeah,
That's pretty,
1,000% agree.
Yeah,
Right.
that's pretty
Right.
common now. Journalists know who the folks are, or the organizations are who will do that, because they've been repeatedly reported on, and yet it keeps happening. I don't get it.
I got to ask you, what do you think of TMZ?
From what I've seen of TMZ, they do pretty well, but I haven't read it much. Sometimes I don't get around to reading entertaining news because I'm focused elsewhere, and then I need a break.
What, and on that, because I know that you were one of the first people to support then Senator Barack Obama before he became popular to do. What do you think of how the media has handled President Obama, first from being the first African American president, but also in a time when, frankly, the world economy has been in a state it's never been in before?
Okay. Most of the media has badly and unfairly reported on Obama. They focused on some of the excitement he brings to the campaign, and that was back in 2008. And again, they were just focusing on that instead of the issues, and they would amplify disinformation.
Right.
That's continued over the past year. Disinformation controversy has been magnified without reporting the facts.
What do we as bloggers do to counter that, or is it anything that we can counter?
I think we counter it by promoting the truth. For example, the Obama administration, despite major forces against it, has been moving pretty hard in terms of government accountability and transparency. A lot's been accomplished, far from perfect, but there's been more progress in 1 year than in, let's say, 8 years previous.
Do you think Scott Brown's election is as big a deal as some make it to be?
Not really. Even I can tell that his opponent wasn't really trying in the election, and that was a really big problem. So it was easy to take advantage of a lot of legitimate voter anger. The voter anger, a lot of it was there because people weren't told about the real cause of a lot of the problems we're having.
Is it possible, because I know that you're online all the time, and as we were talking, we're having networks problems right now, but yeah, I know that, yeah. But I'm curious to know how you've been able to see society change through your interactions with people through Craigslist.
The big change I think I've seen has to do with people seeing that on the net you can work with each other and help each other out, and it's easy to do. Because, we're a classified site, helping with the mundane day-to-day stuff that help us get through our lives. Facebook, in a sense, or Wikipedia are bigger deals, and they have to do with persistent human connection. What we've accomplished on Craigslist, among other things, showing people that they can help each other out, it's real easy to do. And that people, for that matter, are generally benevolent. There are bad guys out there, but it's a tiny percentage of the entire community.
What do you see on the horizon that, because I tell people that you've got two phones here. In fact, tell people what these phones are.
Well, at the moment I'm experimenting with two different phones, an iPhone and a Google Nexus One, partly because of the carriers involved. And also I like the idea of an open architecture, and that's what the Android family is about, the Google stuff. And so far that looks pretty good, because I've been able to tailor my phone in a way that it helps me be more productive.
So this, for those who are uneducated, this is the iPhone and that's the Nexus phone.
Yeah. And on the Nexus phone I was able to easily put on the phone time and date and my current calendar. That is what's happening today and over the next couple of days. And that matters to me a great deal, because that way there's less chance of my screwing up an appointment.
What, for those people who are watching you, thinking about the future of media, and thinking, I've got a blog, I don't know how to get started, champion citizen journalism, but I can't get anybody to work with me because everyone wants to get paid. How do we get over that? And I think for me speaking, without the...
I don't see any of that as a problem.
Sure.
The deal is that we're moving towards a new journalistic ecosystem, and in the process we have to keep jobs, people have to get paid, and we have to evolve new business models where people can be paid using different approaches. There's advertising, that works. There's sponsored models, philanthropic models. There's models where people work together in a network And part of the network is a provider of ads, a mechanism which also makes sure that people get paid for click-throughs and so on.
And is there any model that you can point out that you think is a good example for those to watch or follow?
I won't try because no one knows. People are experimenting now, and I have a feeling a combination of models will survive, and sometimes there'll be hybrids. For example, some people may want to see the news, or for that matter, entertainment, TV. Some people may be happy watching ads and get it free, that is without dollars. Some people may prefer to pay a few dollars and see no ads. Frankly, that's my philosophy, since I've been watching ads on TV for over 50 years, and I'm tired.
So you're tone deaf, basically. Are newspapers dying? Are they? I mean, will we get to a point where there won't be a newspaper to buy at all?
I don't think newspapers are dying. I think the use of paper as a distribution medium is on its way out, except perhaps as a luxury medium, but it'll take a while for it to go. The deal is that the newsrooms, the editors, the writers, fact-checkers, copy editors, that journalistic ecosystem, I think will do better and thrive, but it won't be on paper.
And I have to ask you, why is it, because you go from here to New York, you've been all over, why does the Bay Area continue to be a leader in in a new media space?
I think the Bay Area is a center of leadership for new media, but I think New York is maybe more so, and that's the center of the news industry, as far as I could tell. And they are doing pretty good work there.
Are you saying there's a shift? Because in the past, you didn't hear about New York with respect to any type of online platform.
People just don't talk about it enough. There's remarkable work being done there, Huffington Post, Day Life, a number of other places. The idea, there's also ProPublica is headquartered in New York. It's that it's maybe just not dramatic enough to make news.
Fascinating. Craig, I know you want a fiction network. I know that's on your mind, but I got to ask you the famous Michael Arrington question. iPhone or Google Nexus or BlackBerry?
Right now I'm heading, I think, towards the Nexus. Partly that's not fair. The iPhone is a great phone, but right now it's on AT&T, and they're a few years behind where they need to be in terms of their networks. T-Mobile's has problems, but they're ahead, and I have a feeling I may wind up with a Android phone on Verizon. I just have to see what happens. The idea, though, is that so far it looks like my experience on the Android phone is going to be more productive, since I can tailor it to work the way I need it to. Seriously, maybe once a year I screw up an appointment, and my chances are much better if it's on the very front of my phone, and I was able to do that pretty easily.
So you like the Nexus?
I like the Nexus, plus as soon as I can figure out Google Voice, I think I can unify all my phones, making my life easier.
Yeah, I think Arrington did that. He figured out how that worked. At least I read that he did.
And I like the idea of my voicemail being transcribed into text into email, because what that means is that, for example, on the plane with Wi-Fi, I can get those messages.
Excellent point. I didn't realize that. Okay, so now I'm sold.
Yeah, these days I fly a fair amount to the East Coast.
Yeah, you're in New York a lot. I may ask if you...
Well, not in the East Coast a great deal, but I guess I'm a lot compared to most people. I have friends who do more. But now a lot of the transcontinental flights have Wi-Fi. I like that because it means when I land, I don't have a big customer service backlog.
But also, before I break away, I've got to ask you, you've written a lot about government online. It seems to have been a passion of yours.
Well, frankly, I'm a couch potato.
This is a nice couch to be a potato on.
I'd prefer not to be involved in politics or governance. And I'm not interested in politics except so far as it helps with governance, the way we run our country. And this decade, I think, will be a pivotal one in human history, where a fairly good system of representative democracy will be complemented by online grassroots democracy and by public servants finding ways of doing much better public service through online customer service and so on.
Have you seen a market improvement since the advent of MyBarackObama.com and Blue State Digital and their work?
Well, That focus was politics. I have seen over the last year, that is 2009, big improvements in the way government is beginning to serve customers, that is the citizenry of the country.
And you advise the president, if I'm not mistaken, yes? Or is that
people? That's an exaggeration.
Okay.
I am chatting with people in Washington. I'm chatting with people, as they say, way above my pay grade, because I identify with people on the rank and file level. For example, I'm working with the Federal Web Managers Council. Now and then I'll speak to someone of greater prominence. But again, when I do that, I feel like I'm in over my head.
Why?
I'm more comfortable working with my peers.
Because it's bureaucracy? Is that
It's
different,
just that
different thinking or something? Or?
I now very strongly identify with the people who do the work on the worker level, the rank and file. Customer service, and I've been doing it for almost 15 years, does that to you. I mean, I was trained to be a computer science guy, doing programming or whatever, and that's what I did, let's say through 99, but for the last 10 years or so, my primary job at Craigslist has been customer service, and when you're interacting with thousands of people, that changes you.
We'll call it online community management. In a sense,
think
is
of
that?
it that way.
Yeah.
But for me, the big change is when I'm dealing with people who are having real problems. I see how Craigslist helps out people who are barely scraping by, people who have lost their medical insurance, because that's happening to thousands of people all the time.
Can you give us an example? Because I know my viewers are going to be very interested in.
Well, a lot of it is that a lot of people, while they're looking for new work, find that they can barter services, and that really helps them out. A lot of people, too, are selling stuff to make a few dollars to help them get through the day. Of course, they have a finite amount of stuff to sell, but if they're good at providing some service, that's like a renewable resource.
Right, absolutely, absolutely. Craig, it's an honor to be able to talk to you for this long about this broad subject. I'd like to do it again sometime because things are changing so much.
Let's do it again, and forget about the honor part. I'm a customer service rep helping out a lot of people, but the last thing I need to do is, well, remember the big guys I talk to, they're above my pay grade.
Thank you, Craig. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Yeah.